Well, to the matter of Hong Kong businessman Jimmy Lai now, who on Sunday was sentenced to another 20 years in prison by a Hong Kong court. Lai owned the pro-democracy news outlet Apple Daily and was a fierce critic of the Chinese Communist Party. His arrest and conviction seen as part of a wider crackdown on political dissent in Hong Kong, and Canada has now joined other democratic countries in condemning the ruling. Mr. Lai's sentencing does come just weeks after Canada announced a new trade deal with China PRC. The industry minister being asked about that deal today, given what's happened to Jimmy Lai. Here's Melanie Jolie.
When it comes to our relationship with China, it's always eyes wide open, and Minister Anand has been clear on that. Second is we have clear guardrails.
Well, we're now joined by Irwin Cotler, who served as Paul Martin's Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He is now the International Chair for the Raoul Wallenberg Centre for Human Rights and also serves as Canadian Counsel to Jimmy Lai. Mr. Cotler, thank you for the time.
Good to be with you.
Listen, I want to start out with your role as Canadian Counsel to Mr. Lai. In that, I'm wondering what you've heard either from Mr. Lai or his family since this sentence was handed down.
Well, I'm in touch with his son on a regular basis, Sebastian Lai. We were both together yesterday on a CBC Power and Politics, and as he expressed it, this is a virtual death sentence for his father. As you know, he's 78 years old, diabetic, blood pressure issues and the like, and this is after 5 years in solitary confinement, which is really a torturous captivity under international law. Indeed, this whole draconian sentence is very much the criminalization of innocence. It's an assault on media freedom. It's an assault on the rule of law. It's an assault on democracy, all foundational values here in Canada, as well as the community of democracies. And so the community of democracies have to unite at this point and hold Hong Kong and indeed China to account. This also follows a Kafkaesque trial in which he was denied all fundamental rights: right to counsel of his choice, right to fair hearing, and I can go on. And I think one of the more disturbing things, which is not always appreciated, is that this is a standing breach of a UK-Sino international treaty. Mm-hmm. And so China has to be held to account not only for their assault on Jimmy Lai's fundamental rights, but the standing breach of an international treaty.
Well, let me pick up on that.
Thereby,
yeah, let me pick up on that point, Mr. Cotler, because you talk about these fundamental rights for democracies and Canada. In many ways, it was the fundamental rights of Hong Kong too, because when the British handed Hong Kong over to China PRC, there was supposed to be this one country, two systems framework that ostensibly was created to protect Hong Kong and its people. Is that framework now dead?
Well, it appears to be dead because not only of this, as I say, standing breach of an international treaty, but the use of National Security Act, weaponizing that in order to deprive Jimmy Lai and other Hong Kongers of their rights. So there is no democracy at this point in Hong Kong. There is no safe space for the protection of human rights. And that treaty, is now noted for its breach and violations rather than for its protection.
Mm-hmm. Now, Canada, through the Foreign Affairs Minister, Anita Anand, did express disappointment in Mr. Lai's sentence. The government is calling now for his humanitarian release. Is that statement enough?
No, I think we need to do more than that. What we have at this point, and I'm glad the Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on International Human Rights yesterday unanimously condemned this draconian sentence. That follows, it's almost a year ago to the day, of unanimous resolutions of both houses of the Canadian Parliament calling for his release. But at this point, we need to move to sanctioning the 3 judges who are responsible for this Kafka's trial and verdict. We need to sanction the prosecutor in the case, and we need as well to hold China to account. When China now seeks a standing on international bodies or seeks to chair international bodies, we have to mobilize together to see that it cannot continue to be rewarded for its standing violations of rights and treaties, but China has to be held to account, and that includes sanctioning as well senior officials in the Chinese government, because Hong Kong is no longer independent. It basically operates as a proxy for the Beijing government.
So held to account, China PRC to sanction the prosecution, the judges involved. But how well can Canada do that, or when right now this country is trying to normalize relations with China PRC?
Well, look, I've always said that I've been in favor of strategic engagement, it's been called, with China, but not at the price of human rights. There's no contradiction between trade and human rights. The contradiction is to have trade at the expense of human rights, or while human rights is being violated. And there's another thing that I've learned in terms of defense of political prisoners, that authoritarian states won't release on grounds of international justice, but they will do so when it becomes a matter of reputational damage, when it becomes in their self-interest to do so. I recall in the matter of Anatoly Sharansky, when I was representing him, and he was released, and I happened to have met with Gorbachev not long after his release, and I asked him if he had anything to do with his release, as he was president of the Soviet Union at the time. And he shared the following with me. He said, you know, he said, I was the Secretary of Agriculture in the Soviet Union before I became president. One of my first foreign visits was to Canada. I appeared before the Canadian Parliamentary Committee on Agriculture. Yes, they asked me some questions about agriculture, but then they started to ask questions about the Sharansky. I didn't know what they were talking about. I left the Parliament buildings. There was this demonstration on behalf of Sharansky. I met with your minister, and he too kept bringing up the Sharansky case. When I became president, I ordered up his file. He said, yes, he was a troublemaker. He said, but he wasn't a criminal. And then came the key thing. But it was costing us. It was costing us diplomatically. It was costing us politically. It was costing us economically to keep him in prison. So I ordered his release in our self-interest. I believe for China, too, it's in their self-interest to release, at this point, Jimmy Lai, lest if he dies, as Sebastian Lai said yesterday, if he dies in prison, then it will be China that will bear the brunt of that reputational, diplomatic, economic, and legal damage that would result. So it's in their self-interest, apart from the compelling justice grounds for bringing about his immediate release.
Irwin Cotler, thank you for this. Appreciate the time this evening.
Good speaking to you as always.
And that is Primetime Politics for this Tuesday. I'm Michael Serapio. For everyone here at CPAC, thank you for watching. Primetime Politics is back tomorrow evening. Until then, take care.